I'm gonna share with you the 3 things I did to go from this to this. Let's dive right in. I'm Coach Carissa, owner and founder of Busybody Nutrition. I lost 34 pounds in about 3 months. I didn't lose any muscle and I never regained the weight. Plus, the process was very easy and super sustainable, and it was because of these 3 things. First, understanding your calorie budget. Second, understanding how to implement your calorie taper. And third, learning how to manage expectations and evaluate your metrics to make sure you're staying on course and able to win big. Let's start at the top. Your calorie budget is the amount of calories you have to work with as far as your deficit is concerned. Let's say in phase 1, which is your pre-diet phase that I talked about in this video, let's say you worked up to burning 2,000 calories in that phase to maintain your current physique and your current activity level. In our programs, we almost never drop below 1,200 calories unless a unique circumstance demands otherwise. And if you're doing this all on your own, it's something you should definitely take into consideration too. In this example, if your burn rate was 2,000 calories and your bottom end was 1,200 calories, that would give you a calorie budget of 800 calories to spend for the entirety of your phase 2 fat loss. Meaning we have 800 calories to sacrifice before we hit our bottom end. So 2 things come with that fact. 1 is a consistent output and 2 is a consistent input. Let's start with your output. Your calorie budget depends on you maintaining a consistent burn rate. If you maintain your daily step targets that you established in phase 1 and continue to engage in your workouts as they're meant to be done, you'll continue to burn that 2,000 calories and your deficit will be calculatable, which means your rate of weight loss can be quite predictable. If you move less or do less or skip workouts during phase 2, you'll burn less and that deficit will decrease, which means you will lose less weight. And second is your input. If you maintain your burn rate but don't hit your nutritional targets, which should be clearly defined before you start, you can negatively affect your deficit in the same way. Here at Busybody Nutrition, we do this through tracking macros so we can allow for maximum variety and flexibility. So let's say you hit your macros Monday through Friday and then you overeat on the weekends. You can easily affect your weight loss potential for that week by eating into your weekly deficit. So to wrap the first point up in today's message, which is your calorie budget, all you need to do to keep your rate of weight loss predictable is hit your nutritional targets, continue to hit your step minimum, and do your workouts as they're meant to be done. No more, no less. That leads us into point 2, which is your calorie taper. We personally do not subscribe to crash diets. You can either lose weight quickly or lose weight permanently. So before you continue listening, choose for yourself which you value more. We say there's no point in losing weight if you don't intend to keep it off. So repeat this mantra with me. If I want to go far, I must go slow. I cannot emphasize this enough. To lose weight permanently, we have to be willing to slow down to speed up our results in the long run. You cannot just go from 2,000 calories to 1,200 calories. If you do, you'll lose a few pounds, plateau, and have to reprime, which is ultimately choosing to take longer to get to where you want to go. If that's an upsetting or inconvenient piece of information, you can blame the principles of metabolic adaptation. But hey, it's what kept our ancestors alive in times of famine. You can ignore that or play the game right. To understand this concept a little better, consider the following. Your metabolism is basically your body's ability to turn stored energy in food, known as calories, into usable energy. If you underfeed yourself, the metabolism slows down so you don't die. Your metabolism will always adapt to what you eat and do, and it will continue to do so for the rest of your life. And yes, your metabolism will slow down during any caloric deficit, even if it's perfectly implemented like we're discussing today, because you are in fact under eating. And that's why a fat loss phase must have a start and an end date, as well as a metabolic restoration phase after. More on that next week. But for now, let's wrap up the second point in today's video, which is your calorie taper. This is really the key to being able to diet long enough to see the desired results, and we call it a taper because it works like this. As you ease your way into your deficit, you should start at around a 300 to 500 calorie deficit, which is subtracted from the burn rate that you achieved during your priming phase. Next, we wait and watch carefully. And as the weight begins to come off, we pay close attention to how much, how fast, and key metabolic indicators like energy, muscular strength, endurance, appetite, and even mood. If the rate of weight loss begins to slow, but physical ability and mental state is stable, we can increase the deficit. The goal with your deficit is to ease into around a pound of fat lost per week for all of phase 2. Remember, we want to lose body fat, not just body weight. We want to see muscle mass preserving or only dropping a little as energy stores within the muscles become depleted. Now, these are useful numbers to remember, so write this down. 1 pound of body fat is worth roughly 3,500 calories. So a daily deficit of 500 calories, 7 days per week, would equate to approximately losing 1 pound of body fat per week permanently. Said another way, if you're burning 2,000 calories and eating 1,500 calories, you should lose a pound of body fat per week if your metabolism is functioning well, if you're doing proper workouts, and if you hit your nutritional targets through quality balanced meals. When you plateau, all it means is that your body has slowed down its metabolism enough to make that 1,500 calories that was once a 500 calorie deficit essentially your new maintenance calories, and you must eat less to create a new deficit. What must be understood with this process is that you cannot indefinitely just eat less. There has to be a bottom, hence the need for a start and an end date to your diet, as well as a very intentional exit plan. So to wrap this point up, all you need to know is this. Ensure that your fat loss phase will yield maximum results by taking phase 1 very seriously, as explained in this video. Stick to your plan and do not waver despite what you may see on the scale week to week. Phase 2 is a marathon, not a sprint, and I cannot emphasize that enough. And that leads us to the third and final point, managing weight loss expectations and metrics. And this is the part that trips so many people up because we are human and we have emotions. Fortunately, we can keep our emotions in check and stay the course when we're better prepared, when we have a chance to set expectations based in reality and brace ourselves for what's to come and not get hung up on what we just wish wasn't so. So the first rule of setting expectations is getting clear that magic tricks are not on the menu. It's very important that you don't expect magic to happen on week 1, even week 2 or 3. Again, phase 2 is a marathon, not a sprint. 1 pound of body fat per week doesn't sound like much, but it adds up really quick, and it's actually quite ideal in the context of permanent fat loss. So if you're losing that on average throughout phase 2, that is incredible progress and you should be stoked. There's a couple things I want to mention though. When you first enter into your deficit, you should expect some fluctuations to happen. Anytime you change your eating habits, your body is going to fluctuate for a period of time. So expect this and even embrace it. When you first start eating less, mainly in the carbohydrate department, the glycogen and water stores in your muscle are going to deplete. Something that always helped me personally was to think of your muscles sort of like a water balloon. The rubber is your actual lean tissue, and the water inside is a mix of stored carbs and water. As you consume less carbohydrates, your body will use the carbs stored in your muscles for energy, and once it's depleted, it will tap into your fat stores in a more significant way for energy, so long as you continue to hit your marks. But that will show up on your body scans as an initial decrease in lean tissue, and therefore an increase in body fat, because that calculation is actually percentage based. Disclaimer, this is just the gist of how it works. There's a lot of other processes at hand here, but this is the main thing that's going on here and the most profitable analogy for you to grasp. Now, for the sake of your sanity, if you're doing consistent weigh-ins or body scans, leave the interpretation of your scans to your coach or consult an expert if you're tempted to waver from your plan. Basically, don't interpret what you don't understand or get all worked up about it. You need to stay calm in this phase. So just remember, as you adjust your food in phase 2, or anytime your coach tapers your nutrition, expect fluctuations in the body fat and muscle mass calculation on your scans, and do not assign value. Don't make it mean something about your progress that it doesn't. And certainly don't make it mean anything about who you are as a person. All this information, these data points, are just for insight. They're clues and side effects. All you need to do is stick to your plan and follow through until the very end. Give your body time to adapt and create a trend, and try not to laser focus in on your weekly or even your daily progress. Back up and look at the trends that really do take weeks and weeks to build. Like I said, this is a marathon, not a sprint. We're trying to accomplish great things over the course of phase 2, not in the first week or 2 of phase 2. And in times of doubt, something that always helped me is to remember that weight loss is not linear. It happens more in chunks. So stay consistent and watch the trends build over weeks and weeks and stay the course. And as always, this channel was made with you in mind. Yes, you, the one watching. Help us create the most results-driven channel on YouTube by getting yourself plugged into the fat loss cycle and getting some damn results. If you're primed and ready to lose weight, just take today's key points under consideration. Hit your marks hard and make every single day count. You've got this. If you aren't sure if you're primed or ready to lose weight, consider taking our fat loss readiness quiz. If you want to take that quiz, which will assess the current state of your metabolism and determine whether or not your next diet will work, comment fat loss quiz below and I'll send it over, or click the link in the comments. Tune in next week as we teach you all about phase 3 of the fat loss cycle, which is exactly how to make your hard-earned results permanent. No more rebounds, no more starting over. We're all about permanent weight loss only here. See you next week.